This is Talkin' Mule Deer with your hosts Steve Belinda and Jody Stemler. Talkin' Mule Deer takes you on a journey to learn more about the Mule Deer Foundation, mule deer and black-tailed deer biology and management, tips and tactics for hunting, conservation issues, and even features some of our corporate and celebrity partners. Now, let's start talking mule deer. It's Jody Stemler here with the Talkin' Mule Deer podcast, and I am in beautiful Claremont, Wyoming for the Wyoming Women's Antelope Hunt. And yes, we talk mule deer on the Mule Deer Foundation podcast, but today we're actually going to be talking about the Wyoming Women's Antelope Hunt, which I had the opportunity to be on this year with my first big game hunt ever. So a little bit later, we're going to be talking to the hunters, and myself included, about our experience on it. But what we're doing is, to start here today, is talk to some of the founders of the Wyoming Women's Antelope Hunt and the reason behind it, and then how it's benefiting Wyoming's women and young girls have economic self-sufficiency. So welcome today. I've got Becca Smith, who is the executive director of the Wyoming Women's Foundation. Welcome, Becca.
Thank you.
And we've got Marilyn Kite, who is the former Chief Justice for the Wyoming State Supreme Court. So quite an accomplished woman. And she is actually the original visionary of the Wyoming Women's Antelope Hunt. So we'll be hearing from Wyoming. How are you doing, Marilyn?
I'm doing great.
Thanks for being here.
You bet.
And we've got Abby Atal, who is the events and marketing director for Sitka Gear. Is that correct?
Event marketer.
Event
Not marketing director.
Okay, sorry. Nuances. We're close enough.
Maybe someday.
With Sitka Gear. Sitka is a sponsor of the Antelope Hunt this year. And so we're going to talk a little bit about your coming on as a sponsor and why it's important to help give women, because you've got your great women's apparel line for hunting gear. So welcome, ladies. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Marilyn, we keep hearing that this was your idea, and you talked a little bit about this with you and Carrie being on a hunt, 7-8 years ago, something like that.
That's
so tell me a
about
little
right.
bit about it.
Well, Carrie's my sister-in-law, and she and I have hunted together for many decades, let's say, and enjoyed being able to do that. Most of the time when we were hunting, we were the only two women, and we were hunting about 8 years ago, and I was lucky enough to get a one-shot kill, and we were walking out to the antelope, and she said, you ought to do a women's antelope hunt. You ought to do a one-shot hunt. And you know, that sounded like,
because they have one in Wyoming, the governor's one shot, right?
they have one. They have a one-shot hunt in Lander, Wyoming.
Okay,
A
yep.
completely different
It
organization.
is a different organization, but that was where the idea came from, I'd imagine, right?
I think that's probably
Okay.
right. And you know, it was just a kernel of a thought, but it did sound like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I happened to mention it to another one of my women friends who was just starting to get be a hunter, a big game hunter, Lem Boomgarden, and she's one of those kinds of people that just gets things done. And so
you need people like
yes,
that, don't you?
do. and she also had attended a turkey shoot here in Wyoming that is a fundraiser for a nonprofit organization. And
Okay.
so she knew that was kind of a possible format.
Yeah.
And both of us thought that the Women's Foundation might be an entity that might be interested in this kind of thing. And frankly, that's about as far as we got.
Okay.
We consulted with the Game and Fish. They were very supportive of the idea. But to take it from an idea to a reality, it took the Women's Foundation and their organizational structure and the strength of their staff. And, everything kind of fell together that first year. And then this location, which is in an area of Wyoming where there are a lot of private ranches.
Yeah.
And
We're on the ranch at Ucross, which is
Right.
a privately owned, and then the hunters went out to different landowners and were able to hunt on their property using mostly landowner tags, right?
Not landowner tags, regular tags,
Regular
but
tags,
landowners.
landowners.
Most of the landowners, the guides that we all went with in many cases, are the landowners themselves.
Okay, yeah.
And so it had the sort of the geographic ability to handle
Right.
this many hunters at one time, and the tremendous amount of game
Yeah.
that's in this part of the state.
Yeah.
So that's sort of where it started, but
But-
really, I get more credit than I deserve because it was a little musing.
Somebody's
as I
got to have the idea,
I
right?
guess so.
And then you need the implementer.
Then you
and
need the
so,
implementer,
so
Lynn.
that was Wyoming Women's Foundation.
Yes,
and Becca,
it was.
have you been involved in it from the beginning, or?
Yes, I have actually. I think that idea came to us in 2012. And at the time, I was working in a different position, but with the Wyoming Women's Foundation. And I remember my boss at the time coming back from a meeting and saying, I met Marilyn Kite, and she had this interesting proposal for the Women's Foundation. And as she told me about the idea to have a women's antelope hunt, I was really excited about it, just because of my personal interest in becoming a hunter. And I had never achieved that. I had taken hunter safety at one point and kind of tried to get going on it, but when you don't grow up around hunting, there's a really steep learning curve. And so I thought, well, this is really interesting. And then she took the idea to our board, our advisory board, and we had several women on the board at the time that were hunters, and one in particular was our board chair at the time, was an avid hunter, and also very passionate about women's economic self-sufficiency, which is our mission. And the board was able to see an overlap between learning to hunt and economic self-sufficiency and for your family.
So tell me, let's back up a little bit and understand a little bit more about Wyoming Women's Foundation and what your goal is and what you're trying to accomplish, and then we talk about how this fits into that mission.
Absolutely. So our mission is to help women achieve economic self-sufficiency in Wyoming and provide opportunities for girls. And so that we do through a variety of ways. We make grants to other organizations that are helping fulfill that mission as a foundation. Okay. We have an endowment that we can use to make those grants. And then we also have some of our own initiatives. And this is our biggest one, in addition to being a fundraiser for us. Right. So the Women's Antelope Hunt focuses on the mentoring aspect of hunting. And that fits really well with just the Women's Foundation economic self-sufficiency mission, and providing those opportunities for growth and for girls and for women, and professionally and personally. And so mentoring has always been something that we've invested in, but this was a whole new way that we could do that.
Right, and that's what's kind of neat about this event, is because it is a fundraiser. So you've got people here who we have sponsors like Sitka, and paid hunters, but then there's also some scholarship hunters, and so it's providing funding for providing these programs for women for economic self-sufficiency, but it's also providing tools through teaching hunting and the opportunity, and providing then mentors through a learning experience like that, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, in addition to the mentoring part of it, so we recruit quite a few new hunters. About a third of our hunters every year and overall are brand new to the activity of hunting. And many of them have only gone out once or twice, and they still don't have their confidence about them or their legs under them. But we're also really embracing the full field to fork type of experience, and so we encourage as much as our hunters want to, for them to do the field dressing. They have a guide, they have a mentor hunter, but for them to be talked through it if that's something that they're interested in. So it does provide them with the tools from start to finish to go out and eventually do it on their own.
Yeah, that's right.
So then when they come back to the ranch with their animals, they can also do a meat processing workshop, and we have one-on-one demos for that. And they just,
Abby and I were doing that this morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still warming up from it now.
Yeah. It was a little cold and snowy today, right?
Yep, it is. Yeah. So, and then of course, cut it up, put it in the freezer. And then later on today, we'll have a cooking demo too. A lot of people come with the idea that antelope isn't good to eat, but every time I've eaten it, it's been really delicious. And I know that every now and then you might get a gamey bite, but either the antelope here tastes really good, or we have some really good cooks.
Yeah.
Well, so. and the meat processing.
Yeah.
The handling of the meat, I'll put it that way, makes a huge difference. And I can tell it. I thought I was doing things right all my life, but I've learned a lot here about the importance of getting things cool fast, and things that maybe we didn't do as well in the past as we could have, and it sure makes a difference in the taste of the meat.
It does. It's great, a great cycle of learning for everybody from experienced hunters to those who are brand new. It gives them a great foundation. Obviously, with the efforts that Mule Deer Foundation and other groups are doing with recruitment and retention and reactivation of hunters, this plays into an important aspect of that, and that's recruiting women and girls, which is women are the fastest growing demographic in the hunting and shooting sports, but we're still only a small percentage of that. And I think, in my lifetime, I grew up with it, but I think I was the first generation of my family where it was, I went out with my dad when I was a kid doing the bird hunts. It was not common in my mom's generation. She didn't hunt at all, though she grew up in a hunting family. So giving women the tools, and then you also have something you call the Sisters of the Sage, which is the alumni and other people who are experienced, and that's created a mentor network, right?
Right. And I think that one of the cool aspects of the mentoring piece of it is that sometimes women come here and they don't see themselves as a mentor, because oftentimes when they've gone out hunting, they haven't been looked to as in that role, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we do try to cultivate that, because all of a sudden, they come here and maybe they've hunted quite a bit but just don't see themselves that way, but suddenly there's a brand new hunter that can learn from them, and I think that really can build the confidence and the skills of that person as they see themselves as a mentor. It's like kind of a neat change to watch.
Yeah,
too.
for sure.
So and the Sisters of the Sage, they have undertaken to organize some of their own hunts.
Oh, yeah?
And so that's kind of what we like to see, because we can't organize hunts for everyone all the time.
Yeah.
We have other things we have to do, and we do plan all year for this. So just this past month in September, they did a hunt that was a cooperative effort with one of our guides, and he recruited a couple guides to kind of help. And most of the hunters, the Sisters of the Sage that did that, had only harvested once, or actually 0 times before. One of them came here and had not successfully harvested, and she got her first big game animal at that hunt. So it's really exciting to see that continue on, beyond this weekend.
Yeah.
When I might add that they structure it so that in every outfit there's a guide, an experienced hunter, and a new hunter.
Right.
And so you're kind of, even though your personality might not be suited to being a mentor, you're sort of forced into this small group, and you spend the whole day, and it's fun to watch the excitement grow, and you're rooting for each other and helping each other, and that structure has proven to be really effective.
Yeah, and those conversations in the truck are important.
Very important.
And a big part of this is, I know you guys have an award system that you set up, which was help at Boone and Crockett Club, helped you guys come up with it, and it's awarding who got the closest shot. It's one shot kills. And you're also very much throughout this trying to teach and help them understand, particularly people who have not been exposed to hunting, about the conservation ethic, about how much that hunters do for conservation, and that spreading that message out, it starts to create a ripple effect. It starts small and it just goes farther.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really special thing about this hunt, is that the way that awards are structured. It's not the biggest antelope. It's not the biggest horns. It's not like the traditional Boone and Crockett, or it's not the first person that comes in with an antelope.
It's not the fastest shot.
No.
Yeah.
And some of our hunters will end up taking does, even if they have any antelope tag. But it's really about the hunt and the quality of the hunt and that camaraderie and friendship, and also about fair chase.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have we had 36 hunters this year. We had a beautiful day yesterday. 32 filled their tags yesterday.
I still can't believe that.
Which is amazing.
That's the
isn't it?
first time that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Actually, that was a phenomenal day.
And we've got 4 hunters still out today, and it's snowing, and
Warriors. 2 of them came in,
and 2 of them
animals
with animals so far. So,
That's crazy.
and I think Jenny, one of them, one of our hunters, rolled her ankle, and so I think she's decided not to go back out after she tried a little bit this morning. But we've still got one who came back for lunch and is going back out again.
Oh my goodness.
So she
We're all
is committed. Come on.
We should all just go, all 40 people or
Right?
38 or whatnot.
Exactly.
Should just all go out.
So Abby, tell me, so I know Sitka is a first-year sponsor, and you are, a really big company, very influential in the outdoor industry. What did you see in this? What was the connection with your women's line? Why did you see this as a good fit for your company?
Well, first of all, everybody keeps calling it a hunt. And so when I didn't look into it too much before I came, and it is not just a hunt.
Right.
It's not.
That's what its
stay at the
name
lodge
is,
and
right?
go out
But
and
it's
hunt.
not,
But it is an all-out event. It is absolutely insane how big this event is, and you kind of feel like you're 30 minutes from any town. And so driving in, you feel like you're kind of getting into the middle of nowhere, and then you show up and there's this big tent and, it's 37 hunters this year.
36, I think.
36
right?
hunters this year, and then on top of that there's all of the volunteers. You have the banquets, and so all of these people that are coming in for the banquets, and something like 300 people at dinner last night.
Right, yeah, that was
Yeah.
the main fundraising banquet had people coming in. You had a number of state elected officials,
From
right?
all
Yeah.
over the
From
state.
all over the
So
state.
it's it has a huge effect on a lot
Yeah.
of people, and so if it were just a hunt, it would still be important for us to support
Yeah.
it as a company, but it is just so much more than that now that I'm feet on the ground here.
Yeah.
So super impressed with everybody in the Wyoming Women's Foundation, and Sitka needs to support women. Where we've now dove into the women's line, launched in 2017. But without the female hunters, we wouldn't have a women's line, right?
Right.
It just wouldn't have happened. We knew there was a market for it. We launched it. The market was much bigger than we had even expected. And so it's certainly something that we...
Well, it was
you know.
a starved market.
It was
Yeah.
Here, here.
And I can tell you, our hunters
That's an
are
understatement.
our hunters are really psyched with the
Yeah.
jackets that you all
Yeah, so
provided.
all of the hunters got a jacket,
Yeah.
a Sitka, one of the Cloud Burst. Is that not Cloud Burst? It was the
Jetstream.
Jetstream
Yep.
jacket. It's a
Yep.
beautiful jacket, very nice. Everybody was hunting them yesterday.
And we had the weather for it this weekend,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
did help. But,
Yeah.
And it got up to, I don't know,
It was 60
55,
yesterday.
60
Yeah,
yesterday.
59.
And now it's like 20,
Yeah.
maybe.
Oh, yeah.
So
Snow's going sideways.
Yeah.
yeah. So we're very excited to continue to support the hunt, I suppose.
the entire experience,
Yes, yeah.
right?
It
Yeah.
is interesting if you talk to people women who have hunted a more mature market, how our entire lives has been frustrated by you can't find good women outdoor clothing,
Absolutely.
hunting clothing. You can't
Yep.
find the boots. You can't find anything
Yep.
that fits you right.
Yep.
So it is a market that
It
needs
is.
to be filled.
And it's just not just that. I actually was benefited. So Adam Weatherby is on the Mule Deer Foundation board, and I met Brenda at the Western Hunting and Conservation Expo last year, and that's how I got sponsored to come here. So for my first big game hunt was Brenda sponsored me. They make the Camilla, and they've expanded that line. She said the exact same thing when I interviewed her just about the gun itself. The demand is remarkable. She said we had no idea this was
Yep.
we thought it was the right thing to do to have an ergonomically designed women's gun. And let me tell you,
That gun is amazing.
that gun is amazing. I was
Yep.
shooting the Mark V Camilla, and that thing was
great.
incredible.
It's so
I
fun
mean,
to
it's just
shoot.
so light. It's so easy. And it was so effective. There
great.
was my daughter shot her first antelope with that gun last week, and then I
cool.
shot my first antelope with it. Both of them were one shot, heart lung, dropped them in their tracks. It was awesome. And so again, the women's designs for clothing for guns, it's like, come on, industry.
Yeah.
It's about time you caught up with us, right?
Amen.
And maybe that'll help give more women not just inspiration to do it, but when you can find things that fit right and are comfortable and are useful, it's a lot easier for you to keep going and doing it, right?
Yeah.
Now,
If
someone
I'm
who's
cold, I'm
eight-
coming in.
Now,
Yeah.
as someone who's 8.5 months pregnant, I'm vying for the maternity line of camera, which is even
Come
more
on, Sitka.
specialized.
Yep. There's a market for it. You're not the only.
There's
pregnant
two of
hunter
us here
today.
about
Yeah.
the same.
And actually, Lindsay is the one that's still out hunting.
Right.
Yep.
Our other pregnant one, who's also due in November, is the other
great.
one that's
Oh,
still
my
out
goodness.
hunting in this cold
Yep.
weather. Bless her heart. So, one of the things I've heard, as I've kind of dove in a little bit more deeply into the recruitment, retention, and reactivation, is if mom hunts, the whole family hunts.
Yep.
And I see that so much as I've gone out and talked to a lot of other women is, when mom is going, the entire family goes, and that has brought our daughter along. So I don't know if you guys have seen that or have heard that, but it's a philosophy that really resonates with me, and the idea of being able to infiltrate out into and spread the legacy and the traditions of hunting, and this is a great way to get it started. So
We were just sharing stories over lunch. My son, who's now 24, of course, I got him out hunting early. My husband hasn't had the hunting bug, but I was always identified out in the field in a couple different situations as me being the kid and him being the adult because he was so much taller than me. We got accused in one children's hunt of maybe violating the rules till they walked up and found out I was the mom. So it is fun to get your kids out and enjoy it.
Absolutely.
There's something about, and maybe it's sort of the adversity that you face, the difficulty, the weather, but it is a sport that just breeds congeniality and tightening of bonds, so to speak. That's how I came to hunting, with my family hunting, and then inviting friends to this particular camp that we had every year since I can remember. And those are important bonds that you make, not just with friends, but with your own family. I think that's one of the things that has drawn me in the first place to hunting, and then keeps me interested in it.
No, for sure. And if it's not a family bond, the bonds that you develop with the people that you're out there, the friends, the connection, the camaraderie, and the sharing of an experience. And it's such a visceral experience, right? I mean, you can't understand what it's like in the morning with the frost on the ground. My antelope, I shot mine at 8 o'clock in the morning yesterday, and it still had frost on its back from where it had been bedded down the night before. And, so those kind of things, you don't get that just hiking, right? I mean, that experience, you are part of the system because of that. And so that hunting experience really brings it home. So, and it's so neat that talking to the people who have never done it before at all, and at least I had some connection, and it's just how much it's changed their life. This weekend has changed their life. So, Becca, tell us a little bit about how, if a company wanted to sponsor, or if a hunter wanted to come hunt, either as a scholarship, how they could apply, where they can get their information about it.
Yeah, so there's basically 3 ways to come and hunt with us. One is through sponsorship, and so companies will provide sponsorship where they get to send a hunter, and then also receive some recognition and profile at the event. And then
and that's what Sika and you were at. Abby is the guest for the sponsored hunter, and I was the Weatherby sponsored hunter. So
right. And then the second way is an individual can just pay their own way, and there's no promotional value to it or anything, but they just kind of cover their costs for this guided hunt and staying in this place and the location and everything, and the whole coordinated event. As you mentioned, it's more than just a hunt. And then the third way is through scholarships, and so those are our hunters on scholarship don't have to pay anything to come. We just want them to come and share in the experience, and we have a committee that makes a selection from applicants that do kind of a essay about why they want to come and what they're going to get out of it. And that is an application process that opens early in the spring, like in February.
Okay.
We've pushed it farther and farther back, but February to March it's open for about a month, and then our committee will make the selections that we can, and we start inviting people as we get sponsorships to cover those too. So all of that information can be found on our website at WyomingWomen'sAntelopeHunt.org.
Excellent.
I would just add that it doesn't have to be a company or a commercial interest. And we have a couple scholarship winners this year, that just individual people who want to support the event and want to support women and want to support hunting.
Hunter.
Right. Or they can sponsor a hunter with no commercial attribution. And that's an area that I'd like to see expanded, because there are a lot of people that see the benefits of the event. The single moms that we have who had a tough go and are trying to raise children, and people who see the strength that you get from going through this kind of an experience. So if there are people out there that have that personal desire to support the sport, the event, and women, can certainly contribute individually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would also just add that our board chair, who was the chair of the Women's Foundation Board when we started this, she tragically passed away last year. But before she did, she started a fund at the Women's Foundation for that benefits scholarship recipients, and so people can also donate to that, and
Shelley's Fund.
Shelley's Fund, and see that grow, and hopefully that will be around for a long time to help this event and to help the scholarship recipients in the future.
Yeah. Well, excellent, ladies. We are going to sit down now. We've got some of our hunters in. We're going to be sitting and talking to them and finding out about their experience and hearing how it went.
The real fun part.
The fun part. Yeah, I want to hear some spot and stalk stories. And we're not talking mule deer here, but, antelope hunting and mule deer hunting are in a lot of the same habitats, and a lot of, so we saw a lot of deer yesterday. There's some nice, really big bucks, too.
Yeah.
So, so thank you guys for your time.
Well, thank
I
you.
really
Thank you
appreciate
so
the
much.
opportunity to talk to you. Have a good one.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, we're sitting down now with some of the hunters that were here on the Wyoming Women's Antelope Hunt. I've got with me Melissa McGarvin O'Melia from Littleton, Colorado, which is near where I live, though Littleton's really big, so we're actually not that close together. We've got Rachel Esch, who is living in Sheridan, Wyoming, but has only been there for a few years, right, Rachel?
Correct. I grew up in Illinois and Ohio.
Okay. And we've got Chelsea Johnson, who is you're from Cody, right?
Correct.
Yep. And you're all relative first-time hunters, right? But Chelsea, you've had a little bit of experience with it, right?
Yep, about 10 years ago. My husband is a guide, so he kind of took me out hunting, but it was a very simple, here, put the crosshairs here, pull the trigger, shoot. It was just, I didn't really, got out of the truck and I shot the animal. So this experience was much more like what I would envision: hunting, sneaking, stalking, quiet, just that experience of being out in the field. So and with some awesome women. So
yeah,
it's been
absolutely.
great.
And Rachel, it was your very first time. And I should mention also that you three are scholarship recipients. We talked about that with Becca just a little bit ago, that there are scholarships available for hunters to come in and hunt. So, tell me a little bit about you starting this and why you wanted to do this.
Sure, yeah. So this is my first ever hunt. Haven't
Of any
kind of
creature?
animal.
Okay.
And so, like I said, I grew up in Illinois and Ohio. Love my parents, love my family, but never grew up hunting or hiking outdoors or anything like that. And so I hadn't really started liking the outdoors till I graduated college and ended up moving on my own to various places in the country. I was in New Hampshire for a little bit, Colorado, North Carolina, came to Wyoming, and it's just a really big part of the culture here. And I wanted to feel more connected to the state and my home now in Sheridan, and kind of have a feel for how to get my own food. And a lot of my students hunt, so I wanted to be able to connect to them more in that way. Seventh grade science.
Very cool.
So they're pretty excited for me. They're like, Miss Esch, you're just now starting to hunt? I'm like, I know, guys. We all got to start somewhere.
Are they proud of you?
Yes, I think they are.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm excited to tell them about it.
Yeah, that's great. And Melissa, tell us, you grew up in Wyoming.
I did, born and raised in Wyoming, in a hunting family. My parents hunted. I never did. I was always busy with sports and never really had a desire. My husband and boys bird hunt, but I just never thought I would enjoy hunting. And through some various things that have happened to me over the last few years in my life, just kind of trying to get out of my comfort zone in a safe place. And my sister, Jillian Balo, is she's been a part of this for a few years and has always encouraged me to try to apply and do it and come on this. And I have thoroughly enjoyed it. It has just been an amazing experience. And my boys are so proud of me.
Are they?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So you all were successful, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So first day, so we talked about it earlier. Yesterday was 60 and sunny. I mean, started cool, and today is
beautiful,
freezing
yesterday.
and snowy. So all of us are quite happy that we tagged out yesterday.
Yes.
Who wants to tell me their story?
Well, I'll start because I had some funny things happen. When we drove way up on the Montana border and hunted on agriculture, really. So it wasn't very hilly. It was very flat. We pulled into the property, and he said, all right, get loaded. And I thought, oh my gosh, this isn't safe. Why would we do this? And then I realized when we see something, we have to react. And so it was pretty quick, and I jumped out, and I was shaking. I was scared. I didn't know what I was doing, and my guide was wonderful, and my partner was Carrie Stubner, who's I mean, she's been hunting.
We talked about Carrie earlier.
Right.
Marilyn and Carrie are the ones who came up with this idea on their own. So
and they were they were both so calm, and I'm like shaking, and I had told my guide Brian before. I said, I don't really want a buck. I just want to get something if I can, and if I don't, it's okay. So I didn't even know that it was a buck. I was so scared, and my gun was shaking, and I don't know how I got it, but I did, and first shot, and 214 yards.
Wow.
Yeah, if he would have told me that, I wouldn't have done it. So and it was a buck. So
on.
So it was very exciting, and I have to say that as soon as I finished, I totally started crying because I was so excited and honored and adrenaline, and it was a great experience.
I did too.
Yeah,
I did too. And it was in some ways a relief. It was like I've done this, a success, a breathe, you know, an appreciation for something that I had never had an experience. I mean, I hunted birds, and but this is different. And again, it was just like a success and excitement and exhilaration.
Empowering.
Yeah, empowerment.
Yeah, it really was. So
that's very cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Miss Rachel, what's your story?
Well, we also went close to Montana, about an hour drive from here, and we got out right as the sun was coming up and rising, and, you know, we had to scout a little bit before we saw any of them, but once we did, we'd kind of hiked in a ways, and so my guide's like, come on over, get down, and I'm like, okay, and I hadn't practiced carrying my rifle and my sticks with me and crawling on the ground yet, so I'm like doing this awkward kind of limping motion across the ground. Graceful. Yeah, I was like, is this how you do it? He's like, just get over here. So he's whispering to me to get over, and I'm getting over. I'm like, oh my God, and there's got to be 10 to 15 of them right in front of us, and so I'm trying to hide behind the sagebrush so they don't see us, and he's like, get your sticks, get it set up. And so, you know, same thing, adrenaline's pumping, I'm all nervous, and I get it set up, but one of my sticks was kind of in the sagebrush, and I could tell my sight wasn't lined up quite as how I wanted it to be, and so I got a little too adrenaline. He's like, okay, they're setting for you, do it. And I'm like, okay. And so I think I was a little too quick the first time, totally missed.
Clean miss is okay.
Yeah. And so a few of them started to scatter after that, and so I kept my eye on the last few in that little pack and like followed this male for a while, and he eventually stopped, and I was able to relax and move my sticks, and I just held it on him for about 20 seconds and able to get a clean shot. And I was relieved it was quick. He went down in about 5 seconds, and I was like, oh my gosh, I did it. The animal didn't suffer too much, and it was just a relief that I could do that and that I had good aim the second time.
Yeah.
So,
well, and before we get to your story, Chelsea, the first day, Thursday when we all got here, if you brought your own rifle, you work off of a bench and you sight it in at 100 yards, and they're trying to make sure that your gun is accurate at 100 yards in a very controlled environment. So they're making sure that we're going to have
the best
shots possible.
right.
And if you didn't bring a gun, and I'm not sure, did anybody of you bring a gun of your own?
No.
I have my own.
You have your own?
Yeah.
Okay.
I borrowed one.
And you borrowed one. So, and I brought the Weatherby which, don't get me started on that gun. That's amazing. But if you didn't have a gun, they lent guns. So if you don't have the equipment, they had that. There was also a camo closet.
Yes.
So if you didn't have camouflage, so people who don't have any of the equipment didn't need to worry about that.
Right.
So we shot off a bench to make sure we were all sighted in and understand and how to use the scope, and they coached you through the Wyoming Game and Fish Department. Some other hunter ed folks were here. Then they moved us over to another shooting station, and they had a 3D dummy out there so you could see what an animal looks like in the field. And then they had gongs at, I think it was like 75, 150, and 250 or something like that, right?
Yep.
And then we were able to try sitting in prone, or lying down in prone, shooting prone, and sitting with shooting sticks or
That's
standing.
where I got scoped.
You got scoped?
Oh, that's right.
Oh, right. Sorry,
Yes.
badge of honor.
Yeah, that's not a zip. It's a scope.
You can tell when you get scoped.
Yeah.
And then they had a third station that they just started new this year, which was teaching field safety and crawling.
Yeah, I missed
And
that
you were
station.
late. Poor
Yeah.
Rachel. So Rachel and I I was going to start at 3:30, and she needed that time so you could teach a full day of school before you came out.
Yep.
So she ended up getting it here at 3:30 and wasn't able to do it. But that last one was, how to safely cross a fence with a firearm, how to crawl safely with a firearm on your back, how to walk behind your guide and not point the muzzle of your gun. So anybody who has no comfort level in ever having done that before had an experience before you're out there in the field, which probably would have helped Rachel. But
Yes.
but you
I still
certainly
kept
figured
the
it out.
firearm at a safe
Absolutely.
angle. It was just
that's the hunter
awkward
safety.
crawl.
Right, exactly.
Yes,
It just
but
probably didn't look pretty.
Right.
I
Doesn't
didn't look
matter.
pretty crawling either.
Yeah, tell
but-
us your story.
can I add one more?
Oh,
thing?
yeah.
at the end of that, we had to drag the antelope out by its horns for a mile because we didn't have backpacks or bags or sled to get it out.
Because you had crawled.
So it took us like a solid hour to get that sucker out of there, but we did.
Nice.
a good
Right on.
workout,
That's
you
you need that too.
That's part of it.
That is
I
exactly
had to throw
part of
that
it.
in there before you
Oh,
go,
that's
Chelsea.
good. That's fine. We kind of went near a monument, so we were just about like a half hour away from the ranch, and spotted a herd of antelope. They were very, very far away, but we knew how smart they are, and
How good their eyes are.
my guide knew how smart they were, and their eyes are so strong. And so we walked like literally the perimeter of the whole property, like it was several miles to get around,
Wow.
around, and then we would come over the crest of a hill because he was pretty sure he knew where they were bedded. And we would come over one hill and thinking maybe they were going to be there, and, you know, super stealthy and sneaky, and, oh, not there. Okay, so next hill. So then we're coming up the next one, and I'm trying to do this crawl with this rifle that I'm borrowing from my husband. It's very big and has a suppressor, and it's just it's a lot of rifle for me, but it's very accurate, and I felt comfortable shooting it. So I'm trying to crawl with this, and my partner was a little bit ahead of us, kind of, you know, coming over the crest of the hill, and she is looking down because she's much more savvy and crawling with her rifle.
We're hunting with experienced hunters.
Yeah,
All of
she's-
us have hunted with experienced hunters.
Yep, and I'm the novice, and I
Right.
was like, go for it. Go out there and see, you know, I'm just going to wait right here. So she was crawling out, and she puts up a finger 1, there's 1 buck. She puts up a 2, there's 2 bucks. A 3, oh, there's 3 bucks. So my guide's like, come on. So I get up, and I put my bipods down, and he's like, there's the buck right down there. So we're shooting like down a hill. Well, so I get down, I'm laying down, and I'm like, what am I seeing? And my guy just takes my whole rifle and basically has to lift it. I mean, I was just pretty much looking
With you on
straight
it.
across. I was looking
funny.
straight across the valley at the other hill. And it's like, the antelope's actually way down here. I was like, oh, I see it. I have it in my crosshairs. So, so he stood up and he said, go ahead and take the shot since I was the first one, you know.
Yep.
We kind of decided that I would get to take it first, and one shot, dropped it in about 10, 15 feet. He walked, and then the other 2 stood up, pretty confused. What's going on? My partner gets on one, boom, shoots, misses, boom, shoots, and gets hers too. So it was like within 20 seconds of each
Wow.
other, drop. And
That's
I start
great.
shaking, and I'm crying. I have... You know, I just told you my father just passed away a couple weeks ago, so like lots of emotions,
Right.
And just being out there in that beautiful country and taking all that in was therapeutic almost.
Yes.
And once that happened, you're right, that adrenaline just lets go, and it was just like, whew, I just kind of let it, you know, have a little bit of a release, because it was nerve-wracking, and you don't want to miss, and you want to make sure you don't mess it up for your partner or something like that. But it was pretty, you know, amazing, and then we drug them out like several miles.
Yeah.
And
It's a long
I was
way.
really tired, and I loved the massage today
Oh, yes,
because
they
of
had
that.
massages today.
Yeah, that was great.
But it was amazing. So
Yeah. So, you know, your comment about how being out in the outdoors, that to me was what took me. I mean, the bird hunting has been phenomenal. I've always loved bird hunting. I love turkey hunting, and being out there and seeing and waking up and hearing the bird calls and seeing that. But the first time I walked with my daughter on her cow elk tag was the first time it kind of really hit me. We're in places we would not be at times of the day. We would not normally be out there. In a place where you're not hearing traffic, you're not hearing planes. Only hunters, not only hunters, but really that's what's motivating you to go out there is the hunt, and to have that experience and have that natural, you know, that time out in the woods, or in this case the sagebrush, wouldn't happen without that hunt. And you know, that's kind of a really neat experience for sure.
And I think one thing that I love is just the respect for the animal and nature. And the first, when we all got here on Thursday, they really talked about the conservation piece of it. And while I've known that, I hadn't really thought about that. And, you know, I think people who aren't hunters, including me, probably at one point were like, oh my gosh, how could you do that? Although growing up here, I knew that there was, you know, there's that balance of managing wildlife. But I think it's important for people to know. I think that these people probably love the land more than, most people, or as much, just because they understand the importance of keeping it managed, and they respect those animals so much. And I really appreciated that. We had there was one animal that my partner hit that didn't quite go down quick enough, and our guide was so humane in getting out there as quickly as he could and taking care of it so that it didn't suffer. And really there was like, oh gosh, this like sadness also that I'm sorry you had to do that, and but it was quick. I mean, it was so quick.
Yeah.
But I just think that is something that people need to know, is that we love these
Absolutely.
animals. We
Yep.
love this land.
Yes.
I couldn't agree more.
Yep.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
great amount of respect for all of it,
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and then we all just came out of they did a game cooking demonstration, and we actually used mule deer tenderloin. That one of the volunteers who is from Wyoming, relatively local, she harvested a mule deer buck yesterday, and so they brought the backstrap into the ranch at Rio Cross's kitchen. And then the woman, Vicky, who is, she manages and oversees the restaurant and the food here has been incredible all along. It has.
Absolutely.
But she did a cooking demonstration and taught all of us how to properly handle the meat. We had done. Did you guys process your own meat? Did
No.
any of you?
I did.
You did? I
Yeah.
did too.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was. Now with my husband hunting, I have gotten to where he's quartered it and got in, and he brings it in. So I have done the cleaning off of the silver skin and stuff like that at home. But I quartered it and I deboned it this time, and that was a pretty cool experience. So you learned that process, the meat processing part of it, and then this afternoon we had this cooking demonstration, which was delicious. It was a backstrap, and it was so good. She did just a quick sear on the grill with just olive oil and salt and pepper, and then a great sauce, and taught us, also how you do your sides and complement it, and that was good.
It was delicious.
Yes.
And she said something that was so. She said, "No ketchup, never
Right.
ketchup."
No.
That was hysterical to me because not with our meat. My husband doesn't put ketchup on it,
The kids,
but
right,
the
for
kids
sure.
do. But her point was, yeah. Go ahead, read the quote.
So she said something like this: please don't use ketchup. Remember your harvest of the animal, the grace, the beauty, and the honor of this animal giving its life. When you cook it, remember that and respect it. And I
Yep.
thought,
That's real.
That's great.
And because it's the full circle.
Yep.
And every time you have a meal, you are going to remember this hunt, right?
Yeah.
You're going to remember
Absolutely.
exactly what happened.
Where that came
where
from.
it came from. And that to me is precious. That is really cool.
I was actually talking to Chelsea earlier saying, I'm like, I feel like I need to write a thank you note for every single person here, or I wish I could thank them in some way, because I don't think I would ever become a hunter if it wasn't for this experience, because you have to get your rifle and
Thank
your
you for
hunter
the knife.
safety
Thank you for
and
this.
the
Thank
knife.
you
Yeah,
for-
like just help me cleaning my animal and butchering and all of these things that I would have never been able to do. It's a lot easier to start out with some
Yeah.
help and the resources, and then my team letting me shoot my antelope first.
yes.
And
that
just
And it really-
everybody working together.
Yeah, and it really is like a safe environment.
Yeah.
You don't feel judged or stupid for asking a question. Like, no, I just feel like
Absolutely.
everybody is so open. Like, oh yeah, let me show you. I'll do this. Da, da, da. Yeah, do you want to try that? Or, it's just a really great learning experience for everybody involved. So
I absolutely agree. I mean, they covered everything. You could ask any question. Everybody was here to help. They were so supportive and respectful and so excited
Yes.
to help us,
Yep.
and so the concept of mentoring and bringing on a new generation for experienced hunters, this is what it's all about, is to be
Yes.
able to share and pass on that passion and bring more people in it. Because I watch my husband, and your husband probably feels the same way. You've got boys that are not quite old enough to hunt yet.
Yep.
But when my daughter started hunting, I remember my husband going out in the field with her, and that experience and seeing it through her eyes and teaching your kid to do it. And, I have hunted with my husband, and I wanted to do my first big game separately because it's a little different, wife to
Yeah.
yep.
wife to husband than it is husband to daughter. But
Yeah.
so but you as an experienced hunter can pass on so much to people who would appreciate it. Take them out. Because the question I have next is, are you guys all are you gonna try again? Are you gonna keep going out? Are you?
I would like to.
Yeah.
I'm hoping next year. I do have a lot of friends who hunt, and I think this experience really like made me feel empowered and feel like, okay, I can do this if I can get a rifle, and now I have hunter safety, and it just feels like I can, go out there and do it again.
Yeah.
I definitely want to.
Yeah.
In fact, I was telling somebody that for Mother's Day, Christmas, my birthday, I just want
your
money
wish list
to go
just
toward this. It was just a great experience. My guide, he's offered to, hey, if you come back up, let me know. For me, that was a real safety piece. I mean, I really appreciated his and my partners, just their expertise in that. And I would like to have that again because I felt really safe doing that. I would not want to go out and try it on my own yet. I'm not there yet. And I don't know if...
Well, you can't be in one weekend. I mean, and that's one of the
Right.
things that's really important. You can't master this.
Yeah.
We can't know this. But now we have resources and we have contacts and we have a network. We have the Sisters of the Sage.
That's right. Yeah.
We have
I'd
the
love
other
to see
ladies
more
who've come in.
women.
We're all now Sisters of the Sage.
That's right.
And even though we are still novices, we can still pass that on to others who are new and then learn from those that have come before us too. So
Yeah.
that's a pretty cool part of this whole thing is that circle, that network that's going on.
Yep.
So
I plan on doing it again for sure.
Yeah.
I'm already talking to you about what kind of, because I need a rifle.
Yes.
Yeah.
For me now, because, borrowing my husband's, it was great, but I'm like, I need one
Yes,
that's
that fits
comfortable
you.
to me that I can
Yep.
get around in. So,
yeah, and
Yeah.
and we've talked about this. I had the Weatherby, that Mark V Camilla, which is just it's stunning gun. It's in
Yes.
the Sitka subalpine pattern, and it was with the Maven scope. And Maven was another sponsor here of the Wyoming Women's Antelope Hunt. And Maven is a Wyoming-based optics company, and they're pretty neat. Really
They're
great guys.
Yep.
Great guys. And
Sat
that
with
scope
them.
was amazing. But that setup was so, it was so easy to handle, so light, so comfortable, and it was a 240 Weatherby, which is a proprietary, it was their caliber, and that gun was amazing. So you learn,
Yep.
and then we shared
Yeah,
and we
we
talked about
share
that. Yep.
and-
And the Sitka coats that we all got, I
Yeah.
think that was a great opportunity too.
absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate the industry thinking of us and, beginning to change and adjust toward what we need as women. And
Absolutely.
Yeah, and, it's just to see the number of women growing in this sport, I think is encouraging. And,
Well, and I think the industry's embracing of products that we all can use and love is going to help bring more women on.
Absolutely.
yes.
It's
And
not
I
so
think then
intimidating.
the industry's support of events like this or other recruitment type events like this is absolutely essential because, they're selfish. They're saying they're going to be new people who are going to be buying our products, but it's not selfish at all because it's continuing to keep that group of people coming on and keep that legacy alive and handing it off to new people coming into it. So
Yeah,
good investment for the
Very,
industry.
very much so, yeah.
Any last thoughts? Any reflections on personal impact or life the way this, or just how awesome it was?
It was awesome. I'm really sad to be going.
Yeah, I definitely. We talked a lot about empowerment and just, having all these females get together, and I love that everyone's like, "Oh, you already told me earlier. Hey, post this on the page or the Facebook page." When I was talking about, "Oh, I'm gonna dissect these antelope eyeballs with my 7th graders."
I'm taking, well, my daughter shot her first pronghorn in Colorado last week using that Weatherby rifle. And I took the heart. She killed hers with a lung shot, so her heart was in perfect shape. So my vet science club is going to dissect the heart.
That's awesome.
For my 4-H club.
So everyone's excited about it,
Yes.
and I don't know. Like now, I'm like, oh, I know these people
Yep.
in Wyoming
Yep.
who might go hunting.
we
with
could
me
go
in the
together. Like I
future.
love the thought
Yeah.
of at the site, and they were talking
Yes.
about, oh yeah, a group of us got together, did a little hunt, did a little mule deer hunt. It's just like that would be
Fun.
so fun
Yeah.
and empowering to just do that with other women. Like, okay, I'm not really good at gutting it,
Right.
but I watched them. Like,
Yep,
we
me
can
too.
do this. Like,
And
let's
working
try this.
together, we
Yeah.
can do it.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get it out.
Yep.
So it's really rewarding and very grateful for the experience. So,
The only other thing I want to add is I was thinking when I first started, I was wondering how many women were guides.
Right.
And there's not a lot. There's a few. And after
Guides for this event or guides big
guides for this event.
Okay.
Most of the guides are males.
Yep.
And I thought, oh, that's interesting. You would think they might want more women. However, like as I reflect back on that, and there are some women guides, and in speaking with several of the guides, I really think these guides are hunters. Like they've been around, they know this area, they know what they're doing. They are hunters.
Yeah.
And they are our biggest advocates as more and more females come into this field, because I would imagine some people don't necessarily like that, and may not support this as much as we
all
like.
around here
right do.
Exactly.
But I tell you what, those guys are such big supporters of us and love guiding us. I have not talked to one of them that hasn't said this is the highlight of their year.
Yep.
They love this event. So I think it's a special relationship.
Absolutely. And there's some tremendous guides here and in other places around the country. So this is the word of mouth, Facebook and other posts, is whether they're guys that we've gotten to know here that guide elsewhere, because there's a number that come in from across Wyoming for this.
Right.
That's a great way to continue on too. I mean, it costs a little bit more to go to with a guide, but there's a reason, because they know what they're doing, so they can help. That's an important look. Guides and outfitters recognize what they're doing, and there's a lot that are proud to take women out and help them out. So.
Yeah.
All right, ladies, thank you so much. I'm so excited for all of us. I'm so excited to eat my antelope.
Yeah.
Me too. Thank you for
just hope I can cook it.
You will be able to.
yes.
Well, now we know from our cooking class.
Kind of.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. So from Claremont, Wyoming at the ranch at Ucross, I'm Jody Stemler with Talking Mule Deer. Thank you very much for listening to the Wyoming Women's Antelope Hunt podcast. Thanks for Talking Mule Deer with Steve Belinda and Jody Stemler. The Mule Deer Foundation is the only conservation group in North America dedicated to restoring, improving, and protecting mule deer and black-tailed deer and their habitat. MDF is a strong voice for hunters in access, wildlife management, and conservation policy issues. To find out more, visit www.muledeer.org and stay tuned for the next episode of Talkin' Mule Deer.